All right, brothers and sisters, a quick message on how organized gang stalking works. For those who are being gang stalked, maybe you already know this, but for those that don't, maybe this can help them understand in a better way, and also help people that are not being gang stalked understand how it looks crazy. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's so well organized. This torture program is so well organized. When you're what street theater is known as street theater reaction abuse. Street theater means they're going based off of a script to get a reaction out of you. And before you just automatically shut this off, please listen to it all the way through. It's going to be short. Listen to it all the way through before you make an assumption on what we're talking about. Please. They street theater basically means they're acting. They want to get a reaction out of the target. Street theater reaction abuse. Reaction abuse. There's a script that they go off of meant solely for the target. See, the target is the only one meant to understand what's going on. Unless you're around that target 24/7 to know that target's daily life, you're not going to understand these scripted messages that these gang stalkers are doing. And especially if you're not paying attention and you're not seeking to want to understand what the target is talking about. If you're not open to spend enough time with the target to help expose this, and you're not dedicated to want to fight for this target, you're not going to fully understand what's going on with the target. You're going to automatically assume the target is crazy. And that gets to my next point. Not only do they give certain reactions to try to juke a reaction out of the target, to try to make them paranoid or scared to fear, and they want to get a reaction out of them. They use crazy things that would seem just simply coincidental to anyone else. That is not that script is not meant for. It's going to be obvious to people to the target if it's meant for the target, but it's going to look coincidental to anyone else. For something simple as a car just driving by playing a random sound on their car, a random radio sound that relates to something that you were just talking about a week ago, or a group of people randomly walk by your house and blurt out a bunch of random stuff that relates to what the target went through, let's say yesterday or earlier today, 5 minutes ago. And then 20 minutes later, they're walking by your house blurting out random stuff that only the target would know about. And it's going to seem coincidental to the person that don't know about it. Just simply coincidental. And they know what they're doing, because if I was to go to you and tell you about it, they do it in a way that they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that sounds crazy. And that's the whole point, and how they set this organized stuff up, because they know it's gonna make you look crazy if you go to them. Not only are they getting a reaction out of you, and they know what they're doing to get this with the description reaction abuse, to try to torture you with it, to try to get you out of character. They want you to go off on them. And if you go off on them, they're going to play the victim, because it's well organized. They know the cops are in on it. They know FBI is in on it. They know the feds are in on it. They know certain of the military is in on it. So they know that if you was to go off on them, they can just play the victim and say, oh, hey, yeah, that person assaulted me. When you juke those reactions out of the individual. So they got you there. They play mind games with you there, and they know now they got you locked up in a mental hospital or jail somewhere. They got a sense of victory there. And if you don't do that, they don't get you that way. If you go to someone to try to explain to them to a certain individual that don't quite understand, or maybe they do somewhat, they're going to think you're crazy. They're going to either think you're crazy, or they're going to be like, well, why would they want to do that to you? Even though you know those weapons exist. Directed pulse energy, remote neuromonitoring, and decoding of thoughts and stuff like that. You know it exists. Some people know those weapons exist, but they still are ignorant of certain things. They're still ignorant of certain things. Why? Because they're not targeted with the same thing you're targeted with. They have knowledge of it, but they're not targeted with it. So they're going to be like, well, why would they want to use those weapons on you? It could be as simple as just a human experimentation. They've been doing it for years. They've been experimenting on people for years, even in the open. And yet you're still ignorant by it, apparently. COVID-19. You know what I mean. I'm not going to go into detail because this might get banned, or I might get a strike. You know exactly what I mean. I might get a strike if I go into much detail. It starts with a V. So, it's meant to make the target look crazy. No, that way, no matter where we turn, no matter what we do. And that's why certain targets are forced into isolation. Because if we go to the police department, there's only so many people in that department that has the clearance to know these details. Not every officer knows. So they're going to automatically go to the highest officer, and that highest officer is going to lie to them and gaslight them and tell them that, oh, he's just crazy. That's how that's going to work. And ultimately, they're going to believe that higher authoritative officer more than they will you. So it's best that we don't go there, and then they're going to put you in a mental hospital, and then boom, they get a sense of victory there too. So no matter where we turn, if I was to go to you can't trust the hospitals. They're going to put you in there. They're going to dope you up. And that's not going to get rid of the gang stalking. They're going to gang stalk you also. They gang stalk also. They give reaction abuses. It's not paranoia. When you look at the patterns, that adds up. When you have, like, let's say, for an example, you have 3 white cars driving by. Then you have 2 red cars driving by. That may be obvious at first. I mean, not obvious at first. That may be coincidental at first. Oh, there's 3 red cars driving in a row, or 3 white cars driving in a row. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. But when it happens in a pattern, it's no longer coincidental. When it starts happening in a pattern, you have the same vehicles with the same people in it driving by every 15 to 20 minutes, or probably every 5 minutes, back and forth, back and forth. They're not wasting their gas for nothing. And obviously, they had that gas. They had that gas money supplied to them to constantly do this. They want to get rid of the individual is what they want. They want to drive the individual insane is the end game. Why? It could be many different reasons why. All I know is if that individual was being targeted simply because they're a criminal, they wouldn't have to do that when they can just lock them up, right? Why not just, if they were worthy of anything worthy of death, right? They can just execute them. Why silently target them, and why do you gotta hide it from the public? If that person is really a criminal, why do you have to hide it from the public? Why do you have to lie to the public and try to slander that individual on something they're not guilty of? I guarantee you, I'm not a criminal. I'm a truther is what I am. I fight for the Constitution of the United States when my military doesn't fight for them. They just sit back and collect a VA check. They collect a check. And as long as they get paid that check, they don't care. Take this into consideration and don't assume the targeted individual is crazy, because they're not crazy. You're just ignorant. Ignorantly bliss. Go in peace, brothers and sisters. Shalom.